Yeah, the drive-by media is shocked at how much money Donald Trump has raised. They're shocked at how much money has been donated to Donald Trump, because Trump's out there bragging about he's not taking any. And they're trying to discredit Trump on that basis, and they're missing the point yet again. Details are coming up. Now let's go to this donation story, because this, folks, is also a teachable moment. Let me first share with you some news story and headlines about this. The New York Times is literally outraged over what they have learned. The story is by Eric Lichtblau. The headline, Donations to Donald Trump's campaign outpace self-funding. The story begins this way. For months, Donald J. Trump has highlighted his credentials as a politician who was financing his own campaign for president, but no longer. Mr. Trump revealed in a filing on Thursday to the FEC that the vast majority of the money he raised and spent this summer, as he rose to the top, came not from his own coffers, as it had in the spring, but rather from $3.7 million in what he called unsolicited contributions. Some 74,000 donors pitched in an average of about $50 to help Trump's campaign, he reported. And they are livid. They're livid because they think Trump lied to them. They think Trump's out there saying, hey, I'm not going to take money from anybody. I'm not going to be beholden to anybody. I'm a rich guy. I have $10 billion, maybe more. Who can count? It's the best $10 billion anybody ever had. My billions are better than anybody else's billions, and I got more than anybody else, and I'm spending mine. I'm not spending anybody else's. Then they learn that people have been donating, and they think Trump has lied. They think they got Trump. They think they can expose Trump here as a phony, baloney, plastic, banana, good time rock and roller who has misled people. But instead, what old Eric Lichtblau and the New York Times are inadvertently proving here is Trump's case. Trump's claim has always been he's not going to sell himself to big donors like Hillary and so many other candidates do. The people sending Trump money, $50, they're not expecting special favors from a Trump administration. They know that $50 isn't to get them Trump loyalty. When Trump says the money's unsolicited, that's what really ticks him off. People are voluntarily sending Trump money when he doesn't need it. All the other candidates need it. They don't have their own money. Trump does, and people are still sending him money, and that just ticks them off. From many standpoints, it isn't fair. You know, in a socialist world, a guy that's got $10 billion ought to be giving his money away. People ought not be sending him money. So it isn't fair. Trump's got enough. He shouldn't be getting money. They shouldn't be sending him money. It's not fair. It's not fair. And then it just ticks them off, besides all that there are people so supportive of Trump that they would send him money even when he doesn't ask for it. That scares them. These are people, don't forget, who think Trump's still going to bomb out. These are people still hoping, still praying, still telling themselves that Trump has peaked or will soon and is going to fade. That Trump isn't in it to win, that he's not for real, some kind of trick is being played, he doesn't intend to go all the way, and yet every day there's new evidence that they're wrong about that and they're having trouble coming to grips with it. Mr. Lichtblau of the New York Times then writes, Mr. Trump himself contributed only about $100,000 in in-kind contributions, including rent space that he donated and payroll expenses that he covered. That represented a huge drop from the spring when Trump donated about $1.9 million to his campaign, financing the bulk of it himself. You know, it's funny. I don't remember hearing any of that. Do you? I don't remember anybody in the drive-by media reporting that Trump spent nearly $2 million on his campaign in the spring. You know, and I try to keep up with the news. My show prep knows no boundaries. I'll go wherever there is news. And I didn't see this. So he spent his own money like he said he was going to do. He lent himself money, lent his campaign money. Here's the story from the National Journal, which publishes the hotline. Donald Trump's donors, not his bank account, fueled his magic summer. The headline is just seething with rage. You can see it, you can feel it when you read it. Donald Trump's donors, not his bank account, fueled his magic summer. The candidate spent just $100,000 of his own money in the campaign. Here's how the story begins. The man who claims $10 billion in wealth barely spent any of it on his front-running presidential race this summer as tens of thousands of Americans pitched in with $3.8 million, enough to cover nearly all of Trump's expenses. Some 2,200 donors gave at least $200 to Trump's campaign over the 3-month period, totaling over $1 million. The campaign said an additional 72,000 donors combined to give Trump $2.8 million. It's an average of $38.73 per donor. Folks, this is actually one of the ways to look at this is Trump accepts small donations. He did not ask for them. He didn't solicit them. He didn't spend a whole lot of money. Look at Trump's campaign, $2 million. How much money has Jeb Bush spent on ad buys so far? The number I saw was $11 million so far. And it hasn't moved Jeb in the polls much at all, not significantly. So Trump, small donations, didn't spend a whole lot of money, growing his lead for the most part in almost all states and nationally. Now, it helps that he gets a lot of free media. Don't misunderstand. He engenders a lot of free media, but that's because the media love televising Trump. Trump equals ratings, and so they enjoy it. Jeb had to spend, I don't know, how much money in this? I don't know how many millions Jeb has spent. I'm confused on the number, but it hasn't moved him off of 5th place for the most part. I'll tell you what else. This is another really robust or glaring indication that Trump is just not your average ordinary candidate that everybody has come to expect or has been forced into liking. This is all genuine. Every dollar donated to Trump comes from enthusiasm. There isn't any mandatory, obligatory giving. These are people that want Trump elected, and they're willing to put their $38 to $50 to work in that effort. The important thing, he's not soliciting it. Hollywood Reporter. Donald Trump has spent less than $2 million of his own money on GOP campaign. They're all just seething here. Trump was supposed to have been gone by now. Trump was supposed to have embarrassed himself or humiliated himself, was some way supposed to have been sent packing by now. Certainly, he wasn't going to be able to secure a lead like this without spending any money. These people are all from inside the Beltway, including the media people, and the way you get anywhere in politics, you have to buy your way there. You have to raise money. You have to spend that money on ads. The donors get their take and their pick of you whenever they donate to you, and then none of that is happening with Trump. It's all outside the formula, and they're having trouble coming to grips with it. From the Washington Post, a little quote, Bush raised $13.4 million from July to September and started October with just $10.3 million on hand after spending about $11.5 million, or 86% of the total over the quarter. Yeah, I knew it was around $11 million he'd spent. Now, let's expand this, and let's include the Democrats, because the fundraising here is indicative of something. I have the list of money that has been donated to all the candidates, both parties. And it's, folks, what this among other things, throw out what it says about Trump, as we've discussed. Yesterday I was once again expressing my total incredulity and astonishment at how the Republican Party remains stubbornly opposed to making a connection with its own base and trying to grow its political fortunes. And the whole thing that the establishment still thinks it's independence that determine who wins elections, and that's who you've got to pay attention to. And that's who you've got to focus on. And in the process, they ignore their own base, and in some cases inside the Beltway even demonize their own base. Now, when you look at this list, I got Bernie Sanders. He has raised the second largest amount of money. The two leading fundraisers here, or the two leading candidates who have raised the most money, have the most donated to them, are Hillary and Bernie Sanders. Hillary has raised almost $30 million. And 17% of it is from donors of $200 or less. Essentially, the vast majority of Hillary's donors are the standard, ordinary, big-moneyed people. Next is Bernie Sanders at $26 million. And the percentage of that $26 million raised from donors of $200 or less is 77%. If you combine the money raised by Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, you come out with close to $56 million. And I'm going to tell you what that spells. That spells ass-whooping on Election Day if the Republican Party does not nominate a conservative. Because when you go through the rest of this, you will find all of this money on the Republican side. Chris Christie, $4 million. Jeb Bush, $13 million. Kasich, $4 million. Fiorina, $6 million. The establishment candidates here are getting a lot of money, but nowhere near what the Democrats are getting. The anti-establishment Republican candidate, Ben Carson, $20 million. He's the third largest fundraiser. Ted Cruz, $12 million. Jeb Bush is in there at 13. What the point is, the Democrats are raising a lot of money. There is a lot of enthusiasm for the Democrat candidates, either Hillary or Bernie Sanders. It cannot be denied. We cannot assume that everybody voting for one of those two is an idiot and a member of a minority or whatever. They are fully energized, particularly the Sanders people. I've got to take a break now. Sit tight. Do not go away.